We'll call City of Rochester Hills versus Dejon Granberry, case number 19001-109. We'll call City of Rochester Hills versus Dejon Granberry, 19003-521. And City of Rochester Hills, City of Troy versus Dejon Granberry, 19002-474. Ms. Karen Dongo?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning. Cecilia Karen Dongo up here on behalf and with Mr. Granberry. For purposes of arraignment, Your Honor, on the bench warrants, I would ask that you cancel the bench warrants.
Given the fact that the defendant is in custody now, I will set aside the bench warrants at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor. So can I start with the Troy case, please, Your Honor?
Sure.
So that one, it looks, so these are all failure to pay cases let me take that back. The Troy case is a failure to pay case. And it looks like there was a tax intercept back in October of last year. They took $455. So his balance on that is all of $49, Your Honor. And that's so on
the Troy one we're talking?
Yes, that's on the Troy one. So it only has a $49 balance. And I think, you know, it's a $2,500 cash bond. I would ask it be reduced to $49 on that one, because that's what he owes.
Okay.
Then there's, you know, the other ones. It looks like they're pre-trials that he didn't show up for. There was a probation violation hearing that he didn't show up for. But I'm a little confused too, because there's a date scheduled for 3/23. So I'm not really entirely sure what's going on that. That's the one that ends in 109. It says he has a probation violation here. Oh, on 3. I'm sorry, because I'm a whole year behind. Okay, so he didn't show up for his probation violation hearing, and then he also didn't show up for the pre-trial. I think that was scheduled, or for another probation violation hearing that was scheduled for him on the second case. He indicated to me he didn't have a ride to court. He's been, you know, not really homeless because he has a mailing address and things, and his mom is now back on the Fisher Avenue address that's listed for him on the Troy case. So he had a place where he'd get mail and notices, but he didn't have any transportation for these court dates. He indicated to me that he just did an interview at Pontiac General for a housekeeping position. And so he's hopeful that he'll secure employment in short order. These are obviously a little bit different because he's continuously failed to appear for court since 2019. However, they are all driving offenses. And they now, contrary to what it was back in 2019, are presumptive no jail, no probation. They really should just be finable offenses. So I am asking you to consider reducing the bonds that was set. He's already lost money on all of these cases for not showing up for court. So in addition to my request for the $49 on the one case, I am asking that you consider low bonds or, you know, personal bonds on the two other ones. He's already forfeited $13,000 in bonds, it looks like, because they were 10% bonds.
He's already paid that much money? That's not what
it says. 13. There's 10,000 or 7,000, I think, because it was a 10% bond that he posted. I think he owes the Rochester court a really high amount of money, Your Honor, in forfeited bonds. I could be wrong, but because they were all forfeited, and it has like entries for 13,000,
I
7,000.
do note that there was a tax garnishment for the Troy case. I do note that it does show that he owes $49. It does. You took the plea on this case, but did they hold sentencing in abeyance? Because you're still due to be sentenced on this charge. I don't see a date where you were actually sentenced on this.
It says he failed to appear for a probation violation hearing on 3/23 of 23 on both of those.
Not on the Troy case.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The Troy case, what I'm seeing is that he was a bench warrant for failing to appear for a sentencing, which was on March 6, 2023. I do note that, as you indicated, based on the Register of Actions, it does show that he should only owe $49, or that's what's outstanding right now. I don't know what that's for, because he hasn't been sentenced per se on that case.
Forfeited bond.
So that must be what it is. And the issue, unfortunately, at least what I'm seeing, is that he was just certainly on the other two matters, he was just arraigned in January of 23. And I understand what you're telling me is that in January of 23, he was arraigned on both the DWLS and the no-ops. Unfortunately, he was given a personal bond on that date, and the date was set for March 23rd. And again, he didn't show up at that point in time. I don't know if it was because, like you indicated, he didn't have a ride or what, but I mean, he had almost 2 months to figure out how to get there. Sir, you want to let me know something?
Yes, I wanted to speak. The mail that it went to, I wasn't there. I've been homeless for real, trying to get a spot. Now I got a spot, got transportation. I got somebody that'll drive me to court, drive me here, drive me there. I've been trying to get my life together. I got a ride there and I got a ride back, got a ride anywhere I want. I don't got to drive. I got somebody that'll bring me. They got license. They will wait outside, all that. They'll take me to court every time, everything. I just ain't have a ride. I really didn't have a phone either. I was staying with my mom, but she had moved, so I really had nowhere to go. So I was staying with my baby mother. Now I'm back at my mom's because she back at the 183 Fisher Avenue address.
Okay.
And I got transportation.
How did you get picked up?
They had put me and my baby mother over.
Okay. Did you get a new charge?
No, no.
There was a citation for brake lights, Your Honor. It's my understanding, which is not. It's a civil.
Were you driving?
No.
She was driving?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, sir, obviously you've known you've had these cases out there. You had transportation, as you just indicated, because your baby's mother could drive you, and you never showed up in court at all. Say again.
No, that's just now. Me and her just now getting back on good terms. That's okay. What I've been.
But you got arraigned on these in January of last year. So a year ago, you were arraigned on these things. You were given a date, even if the notice went somewhere else. You knew that these were outstanding, and you didn't do anything for a year.
No, right? I ain't had no transportation there. I ain't even having no transportation.
So you're telling me you couldn't get somewhere to Rochester? You couldn't get anywhere from Detroit to Rochester in a year?
Everybody act like they don't want to drive to Rochester. I ain't gonna lie to you.
How about?
I've been going through it with my family. I've been going through it with them. My granny passed. That's who I really been. She been the person that transported me. My mom, she be on and off. I don't know, man. She ain't been helping me out. I've been talking to my baby mama ever since I've been in here. That's the only person I've been talking to.
Okay. All right. Well, all right, sir. Let's we'll go through all this. So just with respect to 19002474, this is the matter out of Troy. You're charged with no valid license on person. That's a misdemeanor charge, punishable up to 90 days in jail and or a $500 fine. I have set aside the bench warrant. It's indicating that you had failed to appear for sentencing, and that sentencing was set for March 7th, 2023. Judge McGinnis had set a bond in the amount of $2,500 cash surety or 10% on that charge. Given the fact that it was you failed to appear for sentencing on that date, I'm going to continue Judge McGinnis's bond on that $2,500 cash surety or 10%. So that would be $250.
Okay.
With respect to the other matters, 19003521 and 19001109. These are both actually the first one is driving on a suspended license. That's a misdemeanor charge, punishable up to 93 days in jail and or a $500 fine. Your other matter is a failure to display a valid license. That's a misdemeanor charge, punishable up to 90 days in jail and or a $500 fine. It's alleged that you had failed to appear for a probation violation on March 23rd, 2023 in the 52nd 3rd District Court. As indicated previously, you had been arraigned on that charge in January of 2023 and were granted a personal bond, and then obviously didn't appear for that March probation violation. It's now January of 24. It's been a year.
I swear
you could have, if you. I understand, sir, but obviously you had a year to get there and you didn't get there. I just have a problem with that. You were given a personal bond before. I understand these are traffic matters, and I understand that your driver's license is suspended, but in some way you need to be able to get there. As you were just indicating, you were driving somewhere with your friend who got pulled over, and that's how you got where you are today. So I can appreciate the fact that it's difficult for you to get around, but obviously if this was on your radar and you wanted to get it taken care of, you had the ability to do so, but unfortunately you didn't. So I have a concern of you showing up in court. So in that sense, I don't find that a personal bond is appropriate. As indicated, I will set aside the bench warrants on both of these. And I will set a bond in the amount of, on the 19001109, I'll set a bond in the amount of $1,186, no 10%. And on the other matter, I will set a bond in the amount of $1,786, cash surety, no 10%. And on all these, you have the following conditions: that you will personally appear for any court proceeding. You will not leave the state of Michigan without the permission of the court. Immediately notify the court in writing of any change of address or telephone number. Commit no new criminal offenses or activity. No driving without a valid license. Okay. All right, these matters will be set for probation violation for the two matters and then for sentencing for the other matter. Good luck to you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Sir, can you tell me your name?
Christopher Lee Avis.
This is the state of Michigan versus Christopher Lee Avis, case number 2412150. Ms. Karen Dongo.
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning. Cecilia Karen Dongo up here on behalf and with Mr. Avis for purposes of arraignment only. I would waive reading of the charge, stand him mute, ask the judge to enter a not guilty plea on his behalf. He was advised of the nature of the offense, its maximum penalty, as well as his basic constitutional rights.
Thank you. I'll enter a not guilty plea on his behalf. The matter will be set for a pretrial on a date to be determined. Mr. Avis, you're charged at this time with 1 count of domestic violence. That's a misdemeanor charge, punishable up to 93 days in jail and/or a $500 fine. Because it's a criminal charge, you have the right to have an attorney represent you from start to finish. If you can't afford one will be appointed for you at public expense. I note that there's a request for a court-appointed attorney here in the file. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll grant you that at this time. Also, because this is a criminal charge, criminal misdemeanor charge, you have the right to have a trial in this case by judge or by jury. At a trial, you are presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. At a trial, you have the right to see, hear, and confront all witnesses against you. You also have the right to call witnesses on your own behalf. And if they won't come in voluntarily, you have the right to have the court order them to come in on your behalf. Also, at a trial, you have the right to testify if you wanted to, or remain silent if you wanted to, and that silence cannot be used against you. Sir, do you understand what you're being charged with, what the maximum penalties are, and what your rights are?
Yes, sir.
All right. Ms. Kirandago, with respect to bond?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Avis is not on probation or parole. There was a pretrial services report that was generated for him. It's accurate. He is employed full-time. He delivers for Amazon. He has an address in Pontiac. That's 48340. That's his grandmother's house that he can stay at. And then his phone number ends in 8930. I don't know if the court has that number.
I do.
Okay. There was a recommendation from pretrial services to release him on recognizance, Your Honor. I'm asking that you grant that.
And is that address in Pontiac?
Yes.
Sir.
Yep, it's Pontiac.
Yes.
It's 48340.
That's actually my mother's house.
Oh,
Your mother's house? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. I've had a chance to listen to statements by counsel and review the police report involved in this case. I also presided over the swear to, so I'm familiar with the allegations and the facts and circumstances of the case. I actually did not have a chance to review the pretrial services report and recommendation. Oh, there it is. I'm sorry, I didn't see it before. I do note that the defendant is 31 years old and is employed. How long have you been working there, sir?
I've been there almost 2 years, about a month shy of 2 years.
Okay. All right. I do note that his criminal history, limited criminal history, does date back to 2010, but hasn't really had any sort of conviction in over 10 years, it looks like. Given the facts and circumstances of the case, as well as defendant's criminal history, it does not appear as though he had any sort of a history of failing to appear, although there are some allegations of threatening and harassing behavior. Given that fact, I don't find necessarily a personal bond is appropriate. However, I will give him a cash bond with a 10% provision. As such, I'll set a bond in the amount of $2,500 cash surety or 10% with the following conditions, sir. That you have no contact, direct contact or indirect contact with Felicia Cologne Holloway, all right? No contact means no contact. No in-person contact, no telephone contact, no texting, no email, no social media, not through a third party. You understand?
Yes, sir.
All right. You cannot go back to Pontiac, Michigan. All right. Do you have any items there? Do you have personal items there?
Everything I own is there.
So you need to get some of that stuff. So I'll let you go back there one time with a police escort. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. You'll not assault, beat, molest in any way, verbally harass, intimidate, or threaten the complainant or any witnesses. You will personally appear for any court proceeding. You'll not leave the state of Michigan without the permission of the court. Immediately notify the court in writing of any change of address or telephone number. You'll not possess any firearm or other dangerous weapon. You shall refrain from using any alcohol, any form of THC, marijuana, illegal drugs, or abuse medication. You must contact pretrial services within 24 hours of your release. Commit no new criminal offenses or activity. Any questions, sir?
No, sir.
All right, you're all set. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honor.
Thank you,
Can
Mr.
I ask one
Giordano.
question?
Yes,
So what was my bond?
You have to pay
$2,500 cash or
200.
surety, 10%, so $250.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's okay, sorry. Sir, can you tell me your name?
Rodney French.
All right. Detective Tracy, are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right, you want to do the swear to first?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Call the case, People of the State of Michigan versus Rodney Clinton French, case number 2412157. Detective Tracy, can you raise your right hand, please?
If you can see it. Yes. Yes,
I
sir.
can see it. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. You can lean back if you want.
Okay. All right. Again, I'm Detective Tracy on behalf of the Clawson Police Department. On 1/19/2024 at approximately 23:56 hours, CPD officers were dispatched to the area of Phillips and Crooks for a property damage accident. Clawson officer Brozich arrived on scene and observed a black BMW bearing Michigan registration Sam Yellow Nora William Adam Victor with front end damage. The vehicle went over the curb. The vehicle had struck a no parking sign that was slightly bent from the collision. Officer Brozich made contact with the owner and driver of the vehicle, who identified himself as Rodney French. French provided his Michigan operator's license to Officer Brozich. Brozich asked French, and he explained to her that the road was slick due to snow. Officer Brozich then asked French how much he had to drink, and he stated not much. French advised Brozich that he had 3 drinks, which consisted of Blue Moon beer, and explained that his last drink was approximately at 18:45 hours. Due to the accident, French was involved, admitting to consuming alcohol and slurred speech, which asked French to participate in field sobrieties. During the HGN, no resting nystagmus, lack of smooth pursuit in both eyes, distinct and sustained nystagmus in both eyes. The angle of onset was approximately 35 degrees in each eye. Walk and turn. Brozich advised that French started with the incorrect foot, missed heel to toe on multiple steps, one leg stand. French did not want to participate in the one leg stand. French was transported to Troy lockup for lodging. Officer Brozich recited the chemical breath test rights verbatim from the DI 177 form. French declined that. Brozich completed a warrant request for blood and submitted it to Magistrate Larkey, which was authorized. Alliance Mobile Health arrived on scene, conducted a blood draw. This was done at 02:34 hours. At 12:45, at 02:45, French agreed to submit to a PBT at lockup, which came back at a .18.
Thank you. Priors?
Based on what I have, sir, 3 priors. This would be a 4th, I believe.
Okay. And that would be from 2006, 1999, and 1996?
I believe so, sir.
All right. Thank you. Based on the testimony of the detective, I do find that a sufficient factual basis exists to support probable cause for the crime alleged in the complaint warrant, that being operating while intoxicated, 3rd offense notice. As such, I will authorize the complaint warrant at this time. In the interim, I'll set no bond until he's arraigned.
Sir, did you say no bond?
No bond until he's arraigned. Once I do the arraignment, I'll give him a bond.
Okay.
All right. Calling State of Michigan versus Rodney Clinton French, case number 2412157. Ms. Karen Dongo.
Yes, good morning, Your Honor. Cecilia Carandango on behalf of Mr. French for purposes of arraignment only, Your Honor. We would waive reading of the charge, stand him mute, ask the judge to not guilty plea on his behalf. He was advised of the nature of the offense, its maximum and minimum possible penalties, as well as his basic constitutional rights.
Thank you. Enter a not guilty plea on his behalf. The matter will be set for a probable cause conference on January 29th, 2024 at 9 a.m. and for preliminary examination on February 5th, 2024 at 9 a.m. Mr. French, you're charged at this time with one count of operating while intoxicated, third offense notice. That is a felony charge punishable up to 5 years in prison and or a $5,000 fine. Because it's a criminal charge, you have the right to have an attorney represent you from start to finish. If you can't afford one will be appointed for you at public expense. I note that there's a request here in the file for a court-appointed attorney. Is that correct, Mr. French?
He wants to hire his own attorney, he's telling me.
Okay.
He is gainfully employed, so I don't know if it was just part of the paperwork he filled out, but he said he wasn't going to use a court-appointed attorney.
Sounds good. All right. Also, sir, because it's a felony charge, you have the right to have a preliminary examination held within 21 days of today's date. At that preliminary examination, it's the prosecution's burden of proof to prove by a probable cause standard that a crime was committed and that you probably committed the crime. If you're able to do so, the matter would be bound over to the circuit court where you have the following trial rights. You have the right to have a trial in this case by judge or by jury. At a trial, you are presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. At a trial, you have the right to see, hear, and confront all witnesses against you. You also have the right to call witnesses on your own behalf, and if they won't come in voluntarily, you have the right to have the court order them to come in on your behalf. Also, at a trial, you have the right to testify if you wanted to, or remain silent if you wanted to, and that silence cannot be used against you. So you understand what you're being charged with, what the maximum penalties are, and what your rights are.
I do.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Carandango, with respect to bond.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. French does live in Clausen. He did provide a phone number that ends in 1779. I don't know if the court has that. He does work at Creative Design Guild in Clausen. He's not on probation or parole, and he's telling me that his last contact was, back in 2006 when he had his last operating while intoxicated. So understanding that this appears to be a fourth offense, those are between 18 and I think 28 years old, so they're kind of ancient. Him and I did talk about the fact that the court would impose bond conditions, including testing for him. He understands that. Your Honor, I'm asking that you release him on recognizance with bond conditions as the court deems fit.
Thank you. I've had a chance to listen to the statements by counsel. Obviously, I also just presided over the swear to, so I'm familiar with the allegations. I also had a chance to review the police report involved. I am aware of the defendant's prior history and his prior convictions for drinking and driving. Obviously, the court is concerned about that, albeit though they are a little bit older than as counsel indicated. While I don't necessarily consider that a personal bond is necessarily appropriate, I will give the defendant a cash bond with a 10% provision with conditions. As such, I'll set a bond in the amount of $7,500 cash surety or 10% with the following conditions. Sir, that you will personally appear for any court proceeding. You'll not leave the state of Michigan without the permission of the court. Immediately notify the court in writing of any change of address or telephone number. You'll not possess any firearm or other dangerous weapon. You shall refrain from using any alcohol, any form of THC, marijuana, illegal drugs, or abuse medication. You must submit to a PBT and/or urinalysis at the request of pretrial services. You must contact pretrial services within 24 hours of your release. Commit no new criminal offenses or activity. Alcohol testing 4 times a week. Drug testing 2 times a month. All right. Any questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right. You're all
yeah.
set, sir. Good luck to you.
Thank you.